throwing my hands up in the air. I know I can count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. But you've got the love I need to see me through. Sometimes it seems the going is just too rough, and things go wrong no matter what I do. Now and then I feel like life is just too much, but you've got the love I need to see me through.
Okay, so good morning to all the participants. Okay, so it's 9 a.m. now, so let's start the session. So welcome back to this virtual mobility program, Medical, Culture and Soft Skill Learning. So for this, today is the first session. The 9 a.m. session will be the Soft Skill Learning, Big Data, presented by Mr. Stanley. He is a Chief Executive Officer from Converge Sdn Berhad. Okay, so before we proceed to start the session, there will be a few announcements that I'd like to make. So first, please mute your microphone throughout the whole session. Second, your attendance will be recorded once you join the session, and your SSDC void will be issued to those fully attended the session. This will be our info for UTAR student. So there is no sign-in and sign-off form. And please complete the evaluation form on the last day after the closing ceremony. The link will be announced after the closing ceremony. Okay, and then you are required to turn on your camera for the group photo at the end of the session. And lastly, please remember to rename your Zoom name with uni, follow with your name. For example, UTAR Kenneth. Okay, so now without further ado, let's pass the session to Mr. Stanley.
Hi, good morning all. Thank you for having me. Well, I'm very glad and happy to be able to share this topic with all of you, because I truly believe that whatever that happening today in the industry or in the world is something that our students, I have a teenage girl at 18 years old, so this is what I often tell her also, that make sure while studying, while reading, and while learning what you learn from the books and for whatever that you need to take, don't distance yourself from the actual world that we are living today, because whatever that happening today is going to be very impactful, especially for those that will be coming out, to work after the study. So this is why one of the reasons why I agree when I was invited to have the session. So without further ado, let me just start the session, okay? All right, so what I'll do now, I'll share my slide. Okay. Okay, can you guys see my slide? Yes? Okay. Check. Okay, you can see my slide, you can hear me good, huh? So during the session, if you need any clarification or if you need me to slow down, please let me know, because sometimes I talk a little bit fast when I get excited, especially. All right, so you guys can see my slide, yeah? Okay, cool. So let's go. Today's topic that I would like to share with you is the introduction to big data. My name is Stan. I am from this organization, my own company called Converge. Converge, we are a Malaysian-based big data analytic service provider. So part of the thing that I'm sharing here is what we do every day, yeah. And what I will share here is really about the very brief about big data, and also some of the application of big data. Okay. Yeah. So this is the agenda. Because I'm more into the business, so I will share a little bit on how big data applicable in the business. However, big data is applicable in all the field, including medical, including accountancy, including geography. It can be anything at all, really, because big data is something that very wide in terms of coverage. Yeah. Now this is always my favorite slide to start, by Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent that survive. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. I guess from 2019 to 2020 and today, human being in this planet Earth has experienced a very interesting change. Came this very challenging, I wouldn't say exciting, very challenging a virus called COVID-19, and that really changed a lot of things. In fact, that changed so many things that we can't even remember well what was it like before 2019 or before December 2019. A lot of things that we used to do before 2019 or December 2019 is something that we couldn't do anymore. Like for example, for our friends in China, in Malaysia here, as typically in the area that I'm staying now, we are in the second lockdown. However, this second lockdown is not as stringent as the first lockdown, but still it's a lockdown. We are very limited in terms of movement. We are very limited in terms of how we see our friends, our relatives. For some of us, most of us actually, it's not a very exciting time, especially now because Chinese New Year is just next month and we can't go back. So these are the changes that happen so drastically that really change a lot of way of life for the human. So this is why I always think Charles Darwin has a very interesting way of putting the perspective into the future. Yeah. So let me start with what is big data. A lot of question has been going on about what is big data. A lot of people have been talking about big data. I am not a lecturer in big data. I am a industrial player in big data industry. So I'll be coming from introducing big data from a business and common way of try to humanize it as much as possible. Yeah. Big data or big data analytics, actually what we are trying to do is we are trying to find a relationship between information gathered to produce insight for critical business decision making. Okay, well, under the critical business decision making, it can be critical decision making, it can be any decision, as long as this is a decision making. It can be business, it can be social, it can be economy, it can be anything at all, right? But the keyword here is finding relationship, yeah, between information gathered to produce insight. Right? So these are the key point here. Second thing, let me define a little bit what do we mean by information or data. In our definition today, information or data are all digitized data in the cyberspace. Okay, let me repeat, all digitized data in the cyberspace. Yeah? Anything that transpires in cyberspace can become the information or data that we gather in order for us to produce, to analyze and produce insight. Right? If you ask me, how about the magazine as in not e-magazine, the paper magazine, as long as you can scan it, all right, and you can send it out as a digital format, that is a digitized data. Okay. Big data is to support and assist business decision making based on facts and numbers. Right, facts and numbers. So this is something that I would like to highlight again. Big data analytics or big data is really a mathematics and statistics in calculation. What we talked about in big data is about probability. Right? What is the probability of this will happen if we do that? Before big data, a lot of decision were made based on assumption, based on gut feeling, based on feeling, or based on what I heard from other people. Yeah. However, all this information are very piecemeal. They are not very synchronized in terms of the arrangement of information. They are not very synchronized in terms of the cleanliness of the information. They are also not very synchronized in terms of how the data or information is being processed. Yeah. So I have question also asked me, Sam, if that is the case, gut feeling, assumption, and also feeling, can that be analyzed as well? The answer is yes. We will analyze any feeling, human gut feeling, or human assumption based on digitized data. Meaning, for example, if 1 out of 10% say you are good, probably you are not so good because 9 of them do not agree. All right, do not agree in the sense they do not have the mathematical or statistics facts to agree or disagree. Just that they don't feel you are good. But if, like, say 9 out of 10% feel that you are very good, they assume that you are very good. So mathematically, statistically, you are actually good. So big data today is quite a piece of powerful technology that can even analyze human feeling and also human assumption, as long as this so-called human emotion are being numberized. Okay? Am I going too fast or too far here? Do you have any questions? Because usually this slide or this page will create some questions already. You start to think, hey, you know, what is Stan trying to say? Because this is not a teaching session. This is not a training session. You know, this is really a sharing session. So in order to make the sharing session more meaningful, I guess if you do not understand or cannot agree with what I have to say or what I said here, you know, it's always good that you let me know, because I also need to learn. Yeah. That's one. Second thing, if I already confuse you in this page or in this so-called slide, yeah, it's very difficult for you to understand next, because you'll be keep thinking, what is he trying to say just now? You know, you'll be too focused on understanding what I have said rather than what I'm going to say. Yeah. So if you have anything, any question at all, you know, really, please let me know. So at least, you know, I can spend a little bit more time sharing with you, because I think the whole point of this sharing session is really for us to understand better what is this topic all about. One. Second thing, how is it applicable to my life or to my study or to my career or to my, you know, future later. I guess that's where, you know, I really want to come from. Yeah. So if you have anything at all, please let me know. Okay, are we good? All right, looks like no question. Okay, this is the second most important slide, I always say, as far as big data is concerned. If anyone were to talk to you about big data, you know, the minimum thing that they have to talk about is this 4V. You can actually see from here, there are 4V that we must understand. First V is the volume. Big data, by definition, is big. You know, the bigger the data, the more the data, the better. So the volume of data that we need in order for us to really call ourselves into big data analytics got to be really big. The bigger, the better. Because like what I said just now, if 1 out of 10% say you are good, you might not be good, because the exposure of this so-called 10% of about you might not be so accurate. However, if most of the 10%, which is 9 out of the 10%, already know you, you know, your history, your current, and also how you look at future, and they see you and they know you as a personal friend. So they will know exactly whether are you good or are you not good. All right. So the more data, the more information that we can process is always better. Let me put it this way. Okay, just like for those that you already have your girlfriend now, or you used to have a girlfriend, what you try to do when you see a girl or boy that you like is, first thing first, you must be trying very hard to gather information about him or her, right? The more people they will ask, the more information they will gather, the more so-called history or current news that you have about him or her, easier for you to make decision. Make decision in the sense of, first, is this the person that I like? Second, you know, if I really like him or her, what should I do next? What is her or his favorite sport, favorite food, favorite hangout, favorite books, favorite subject, favorite topic to talk about? So these are all the information that you wanted to know. And this is how we process information. Once we process all this information that we get, regardless how much of information that we get, then we start to have a insight, you know, whether are we going to go after this person that we like or not. Definitely the question number one, if not number two, is whether this person has attached, you know, whether has he or she has already have a girlfriend or boyfriend, or was married. So all this information that we gather is very critical for us to make a analysis. The more data that we gather, always, you know, is easier and more accurate when we do analysis. Yeah. Are we good? Right. So the first V of big data is volume. Volume. Yeah. Okay. The second V of big data, which is very critical in the topic of big data, is velocity. Velocity means speeds. About maybe 10, 15 years ago, and now still we have this piece of technology we call business intelligence. Business intelligence is a very fantastic technology that able to analyze historical information or historical data. Why historical information or historical data is important? Simply put it, before the current 4G or 5G era, a lot of information are not easily available, right? So in order for us to understand somebody, we need to understand what he or she used to do. Pretty much I go back to the girlfriend boyfriend thing just now. You want to understand what she has been doing, what he has been doing, what he like, what she likes. So from what they used to do or what they are doing now, you can kind of like get an insight that this is what he is doing now all the time. Every Saturday, Sunday, he will go to gym, right? He will spend 2 hours in the gym. So if I want to accidentally bump into him, the best thing to do is go to gym Saturday and or Sunday. Yeah. So these are historical information. A lot of businesses, a lot of people, a lot of us today actually make decisions based on historical information. We look at what happened, then we predict what is going to happen. Nothing wrong about it, just that it is not accurate anymore. Yeah. However, today in the very connected world, information and also changes happen every split second. Yeah. So what we wanted to do now is, since I already know the historical information, I wanted to know also, is there anything that has changed in this person? Right? So how do I know what is going on now is when I can connect and collect information of now. For example, that person that likes to go to gym, every Saturday and Sunday, all right, for the past 5 years, all right. But on today onward, he or she decided that they do not want to go to gym anymore because something happened. For example, hurt the injury, or need to move to another place, or decided to switch to another hobbies or another sport activity that that excite them more. Right. So in order for us to understand what exactly is going on, we need to also understand the current information. The current information will only available currently. And this current information will be gathered through the very easily available platform today we call social media. Social media or the Twitter, LinkedIn, Insta, or Facebook, if you use any, right? All these so-called data information from this digital channel, all right, will be streamed continuously and in a huge volume of capacity. So we must be able to understand, right? Other than the historical data, we must be also able to understand the current data. We also need to make sure that we are processing the current data. The current data is how fast, right, the information coming in. So big data must be able to process at least two types of data: historical information or data, and current information or current data. Right. So this is where lies the technology advancement of big data technology, because big data must be able to at least process, all right, near real-time information together with historical information. So if anybody come and talk to you and talk about historical data processing, they can tell you what happened, why happened, da 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 da. All those historical information, all those historical data analytic alone is not big data. Big data must be able to process two types of data: historical data and current data. Okay, so the velocity, the speed, right? Imagine the speed of data coming in, and whenever the data come in, the whole business, the whole algorithm, the whole pattern can change, right? So big data could be very dynamic, very flexible, and very adaptive. Okay, so these are the key differences between big data and the rest of analytics. I'm not saying that the rest of analytics not good, but the rest of analytics a lot of times are historical analysis. Historical analysis cannot predict you a future because future is changing. Right? What we are experiencing now really is a constantly changing future. Right? So that's a second V of big data: velocity, the speed of streaming data coming in. Okay. All right. Third V that we must be able to address in talking about big data is variety. It's a different form, different types of data. in general, there are two types of or two forms of data: structured data and unstructured data, which I'm going to explain a little bit later. Yeah, but what we are trying to say here is that if this so-called platform can only process 1, 2, or 3 types of data, and they call it big data, that is absolutely nonsense. Big data platform must be able to process all sort of digital data. Okay, let me repeat: all form of digital data. It can be audio, it can be video, it can be text, it can be voice, it can be GPSs, it can be chemical compound in the air, it can be temperature, it can be anything at all. It must be able to process all forms of data. Yeah. So the third very important V of big data is variety. So hopefully after this sharing session, you have at least, when people ask you, do you know what's big data? Oh yeah. If you want to talk about big data, at least there are 4 V's that you need to talk about. Whoever that is really in the big data industry, they know, okay, you know something about big data, right? So this 4 V is very important. Yeah, please make sure that you remember it. Well, not remember. At least you know about these V's. All right. So the third V is what I mentioned just now, was variety of data. All right. The next V is veracity. Veracity, some people also call it cleanliness of data. Some people also call it value of data. To me, I just call it uncertainty, because you do not know whether this data is important or not. All right. But somehow, in big data, right, this is what we do. We do not throw away data. We do not purge data. What we do is that we'll keep a lot of data, because whatever data or information that is not relevant today to the topic that you were talking about might be relevant or might be real to another topic that you want to discuss or you want to relate. Yeah. So what we do is that all this information, all this data that we had, we always keep it, within our depository. Today, I think the wonder of technology is that we can keep as much data as possible. There's no way that we cannot keep data, right? So all this data that we keep, or we are keeping now, can give us or can produce some insightful information, when things change again. Because you never know when do you need this information. Just like whatever that you studying or I studied. I'm an econ student. A lot of times, our saying was that whatever you study in university is not applicable in work, in life. I wouldn't deny that. I wouldn't agree with that. However, somehow, sometimes, whatever that I studied in university actually came back to life when I'm actually really living a life. Not all the time, sometimes. So imagine if I really throw away whatever that I learned. I did not know, I cannot remember at all whatever that I've learned in university. And when I face this issue or this challenge or this topic in my real life now, what can I do? I have to relearn. So big data is really about ability to unearth the value of data that we are not sure about the value yet, not into the future. Yeah. So these are at least the 4 very important V of big data. Definitely there are academicians saying that, Stan, there are 5, there are 6, there are 7. Even I saw someone that actually told me that actually there are 7 V's in big data. For me, it's good. Those V are also correct. However, to make it more humanized, I guess this 4V really good in cover most of the thing that we wanted to talk about. Yeah. So please remember, or at least, please try to remember that big data, in order to really discuss or talk about the topic of big data, these are the 4V that are critical that we need to touch: the volume, the velocity, the variety, and also veracity. All right, which some of the cases that I'm going to share with you later, you can kind of like, okay, I think, the volume is there, the variety is there, the velocity is there, the veracity, I'm not so sure, but at least the 3V is there. Yeah? Okay, are we cool? So before I go to next slide, do you have any question? I'm sorry, am I talking too fast? I'm very worried that my speed increases as I get excited. I'm so sorry. Do you have any questions that you must ask? Any dying questions that, hey Stan, I need to ask you this before I want to listen to the next slide? No? Oh, good. So I make you guys very clear already, yeah? Okay, thank you. Okay, just now I was saying there are two forms of data, right? So we have two forms of data. One is what you call a structured data. The other is unstructured data. Let me touch a structured data first. Structured data in general are the information or data that once you look at it, pretty much you can understand what is this data about. There can be call detail records, as in call center. I mean, not many of us understand what is call center anymore. Call center actually used to be is a physical office that you have a lot of people sitting and answering phone and taking down calls and helping customer to understand things. Today, don't it doesn't really happen anymore. So in a call center, what the telemarketer or the call center agent will do is that they'll take down the information. Nowadays it's recorded, but sometimes they also write down. All right, they will write down all the information that the caller tell them or whatever transpired. So well, other than handwriting, whatever that they write usually are pretty easy to be read. Yeah, POS, point of sales data. When you go to any outlet at all, when you do a transaction, all right, after a transaction, after you make the payment, they'll give you a kind of like a receipt, right? The receipt is a form of data. We call those usually POS, point of sales data. The date, the time, who are the servant, how many people dine in or take away, what have you ordered, how much, what time, all this information are considered structured data. So in general, when you look at the data, you know what does it mean. Okay, cool. The other form of data is what we call unstructured data. Right? Unstructured data are any data that other than the structured data. It can be video, it can be social media, it can be clickstream, it can be mobile devices, signal, it can be images, it can email, it can be logs, it can be anything at all. Anything at all. It can be even heartbeats. It can be GPSs. It can be chemical compound. It can be temperature. It can be soil condition. It can be wind condition. It can be wind velocity. It can be anything at all. Any data that is not able to be read by human being through a naked eye, right? Usually are called unstructured data. They are not structured. When you look at the data, you do not know what does it mean. It's a lot of 1 and 0. You do not know what does it mean, right? So the power of big data is the ability to combine and to cross-analyze both this form of data, the structured data and unstructured data, to come up with a so-called insight. For example, after I went to a shop, bought something, right, and I paid, so that will come into the post data, right, the point of sales data. So that is the structured data. So after I bought whatever I bought, I took out my phone and I start to take the photos of what I bought and I put it in Insta. I shared it into my friends. I send it in WhatsApp. I start to comment what was my experience, shopping or purchasing at the outlet. Happy, not happy, glad, excited, pleasured, price is the price of good is worth the money, blah blah blah. I will start to say a lot of things in the social media, in anything that I want. I can even do a recording of the video and send it to my parents. Hey dad, this is what I bought, what do you think? So all this information that I've just contributed, right, will be from the unstructured data source. You get me? All right. So now imagine if I am the shop owner or business owner of that particular shop that the person just purchased something from me. After I have the POS POS data, point of sales data, I also able to gather what he or she as a customer feel after buying or after purchasing the product or services from my outlet. Imagine the power of it. Now I know whether my customer happy or not. One. Second, what are they happy or not happy about? Two. Third, what else can I do in order to make them come back and buy more? Fourth, what else can I do to make sure that he or she will recommend, whatever that they experience to their friend also, right? So with all this information that I gather, I can actually start to formulate a strategy, either a marketing strategy, product strategy, or sales strategy, right? To make sure that all this information that I gather can turn into an insightful business decision. Do you get me? Am I going too fast? I'm sorry, I because I'm in the business of big data, this is what I do every day. So this is how I talk every day to most of the people that I'm dealing with when it comes to this topic. So I do not know whether, am I going too far of the way that you would like to understand, what is big data all about. Am I too far? Am I too, do you have anything that you want to stop me here? Like what I said earlier, if we are not clear about, the earlier slide and this slide, it's very difficult for us to imagine or to even follow what I'm going to share later. Because if you are already confused by me at the beginning, there's no way that you can get clearer later. Yeah, so I really worry that, I confused you in the beginning of the session. Are we good here? Okay, good, cool, thanks. Let me go to the next one. Okay, this one is to me, is the most important information that I would like to share with you about big data. Exactly what we are trying to do. You might heard about these so-called terms called hindsight, insight, and foresight, right? So hindsight talks about what happened. What happened as in historical information. Remember what I told you just now? Historical information, historical data, right? So when we do analysis into history, what we actually wanted to know is what happened. Yeah, what happened, right? So when we understand what happened in big data terminology is what we call a descriptive analytic. We describe what happened. So you understand the history. Oh, this is what happened. Stan fell down when he was doing his gym. That's why injured his back, which the doctor say he cannot go to gym anymore. Therefore, he changed his hobby. And that's what happened. So you have the hindsight, you have the information of what historically happened, all right? For you to know, oh, okay, now I know why he is not going to the gym anymore. All right? So this is what we call descriptive analytic. But next, what you would like to know then, actually, why did it happen? How come it happened? Stan has been going to gym for past 15 years, 10 years, and that was such a small mistake. Why can it happen? Right? So you want to go down a little bit deeper in understanding what already happened is where you do a diagnostic. Diagnostic is like a post-mortem lah, for the medical student in medical term. But I really do not like post-mortem at all because post-mortem is something happened when you died, medically. After you died for whatever reason, if the family allow, usually they'll send the body to post-mortem. They'll open you up, right? And they will check through every single thing that they are supposed to check. Then they tell, oh yeah, confirm. This guy died of a heart attack. So they do a post-mortem. This is where the diagnostic happened. But again, when you do a post-mortem, meaning that you are dead. When you are dead, even though you know what happened to you that caused you the death, will not help you anymore because you cannot revive the person, the dead person. Yeah. But it is important enough also for us to know, okay, what happened and why it happened. Oh, it died because of heart attack. Then we know why. So that is a stage 2. That's what we call a diagnostic analytic. A little bit advanced, right? After the diagnostic analytic, will be the predictive analytic. This is very exciting. This is where most of the businesses in the world today, or most of us today, wanted to achieve. This is where, we are crossing from hindsight to the insight. Yeah, crossing from hindsight to the insight. We are like advancing to insight. What will happen? So what we will do is that based on all the data, all the information that we have, the 4V that we have, which is the velocity, the volume, the variety, and also the veracity of volume, and combined with the structured and unstructured data, this is where we start to actually produce a model, an algorithm, a pattern to predict what will happen if A, B, and C happen. Remember just now what we were talking about historical information. Usually what happens is that in the historical information, you see what happened. A, B, and C happen, therefore D happen, right? So you take this information as information number one. Information number two is the unstructured data, the streaming data, the velocity of the data. When A, B, C happened and produced D, and after D was being produced, the social media start to activate it. Somebody the customer started to say something, and once the customer started to say something, it can be anything at all that is consistent, right? E happened, right? So now we know when A, B, C happened, it produced D. When D happened, and if E also happened, G will happen. Some new customer that never come to my shop will come to buy because they are influenced by the social media. Okay. Can you follow me? Am I too fast? No, So understanding this so-called relationship is very critical for business people like me to then decide, okay, in order for me to have new customer, what I need to do is I must make sure A, B, C happen. When A, B, C happen and that produce D, then I need to excite E to happen by encouraging my customer to start to share and post, whatever they're feeling, got to be good feeling, in the social media. When I do that, the probability of G, which is new customer coming into my shop, will be 95%. So now I have the pattern. Can you follow me? So this is how I predict my happening. This is going from the inside to the foresight already. I know this is what happened, and when this happened, and if E also happened, and if when E happens, certain things are being in place that will excite G to come to my shop. So you can see it's a cycle, right? So this go back to what I said earlier. Big data is really to understand and find the relationship between all the digitized data in the cyberspace. If the information, if the data is not in the cyberspace, we can't produce it. We can't analyze it because simply we don't have it. Unless we have it, then we can start to analyze it and produce the insight out of it and create a pattern. Right? Just now before the session, I was sharing with Prof. Jenny that big data actually is like human brain. Just that big data is very hardworking. Big data do not come with emotion. Big data will not say, I'm tired today, I don't want to study. I feel sleepy, I want to sleep, I want to watch a football game. No, big data analytics is a piece of machine and technology that will work regardlessly, relentlessly, just keep on working and working and working, right? So the magic or the beauty of big data is that we'll take all the information that the machine can take, the technology can take without any prejudice, all right, and start to process. Once they process, they start to come up with a pattern, all right, and with that pattern, all right, we'll come up with an algorithm to test the pattern and also test the model. So this is a constant learning process. Big data is not a piece of machine or piece of technology that immediately give you 100% accuracy. No, there is no 100% accuracy in any technology. The only 100% accuracy in technology is death. Right, by God. Yeah. So other than that, there's no 100%. So big data really talks about probability. Big data talk about the percentage of probability. Big data talk about the accuracy of probability. So the more accurate the probability, the more accurate the pattern, more accurate the model that we are producing, the more accurate the result that we're going to see. However, don't forget about the change and also the velocity. As and when there's any change happen, in the real world, this model, this algorithm, this pattern will change again. Right? That's why big data is a continuous, constant learning and growing process. It's never ends. Just like whatever you study, it never ends. Whatever you study is just a fundamental basic of what you need to know, right? But whatever that you're going to do after what you study, it never ends. It's just keep on coming and coming and coming because it is human nature to explore, to discover, to create. Right? It's human nature. So this is what we do, and this is exactly what happened. Just that when there's too much of information for the human brain to process, not that we cannot, just that we are lazy. Right? This is where we decided, okay, let me design something that can actually process the data on our behalf. Right? So this is where, and this is how big data really comes about. Really to find the relationship between all the data, the digitized data in the cyberspace, and produce an insight that can take action on it. It can be for your personal life, it can be the business life, it can be career, it can be anything at all. You can even start to predict the, which we are, we are predict the weather. How do we predict weather? By smelling or by looking at the sky or by feeling the wind or how? There are 2,000 ways, right? Big data able to combine all these 2,000 ways or 3,000 ways, right, and produce a model or pattern out of this 2,000 or 3,000 way and test against the accuracy. The more accurate, the more tests that we conduct, the more accuracy that become, that is a more accurate model. But that model is a changing, flexible model. All right. I speak quite a fair bit here. Have I lost you? Are you still good? Good, huh? I'm not going too fast, right? I'll tell you what, this is what I'm going to happen. After I finish this slide, I will give you a break of 5 minutes. Yeah. So you can do your bio break or do your so-called refreshment break, because I do not know whether I swam you too much. No, with all this thing that I'm sharing here, probably you need some time to think. I don't understand what is this. This guy is trying. Yeah, I need to understand a little bit. Okay, so that is predictive. Okay, the ultimate, at least at this point of time, the ultimate goal of big data, or what we really wanted to do, is what we call a foresight. Foresight is like fortune teller, fortune teller. All right, how can we make it happen? Imagine, I want to score straight A's in all the subject that I'm taking now. So the question is, you already know why you want to do that, because you want to have a lot of A's. You already know what you want to achieve. You want to have the A's. All right. So the next question is, how am I going to make that happen? Definitely, you're going to make that happen very legally, right? So it's the same thing in big data. If we can predict a future with such a high accuracy, right, then we are really maximizing the benefit and technology of big data. Imagine if I can sell anything the customer want into the future, definitely my business is going to be very good. Imagine whatever I study is whatever will come up in an exam hall, exam paper, definitely I'm going to score well. Imagine if I can do every single thing that the girl or the boy that I like also likes, definitely they're going to like me, right? If I can do every single thing that my parent wanted me to do, definitely my parent is going to be very happy. If I can perform everything that I am supposed to perform to make it better, and definitely I'm going to be better. So how can I make it happen is where big data prescriptive analytics come into the picture. This is where we really talks about optimization of the benefit, the foresight. Right? If we can predict with a very high accuracy what the customer will buy in 2 months' time, the size, the color, the place, the channel of payment, the model, the weight, every single thing. If we can handle every single element that customer wanted as a piece of product or services from us, definitely customer will buy. And when definitely customer buy, I definitely make the money. You see? So this is the optimization of big data. This is a foresight that we wanted to achieve. We want to be the fortune teller. And this fortune teller come with a probability that backed by statistics, backed by science, backed by numbers, backed by fact. Cannot be backed by I think. Cannot backed by, the wind is like that, therefore it's like that. No. All right? Prescriptive analytics talks about understanding, prescripting a future based on what we know with a very high accuracy, because we already know. Okay? Have I lost you? As in, have I confused you? Do we understand about this? Yes? Do you have any question at all? Because I'm going to give you a 5 minutes break after this. Do you have any question at all? Before I give you that 5 minutes. No? Everybody very clear? Okay. I tell you that my time now is what is my time now? 9:43 Malaysia time. I'll give 5 minutes. We'll come back 9:48. Okay, 9:48. All right. Cool. Thank you. I'll see you in a while. 5 minutes. Yeah. 9:48. Thank you.
I'm lost here without you, tangled up in your web, holding on to every word you said. I'm ready, you know, I'm open to show. Would you say the same? We're falling from outer space. We're moving like a full-paced supernova. We're making all the headlines now, and I just wanna seize the moment, 'cause we won't ever slow it down. Kissing in the rain, tastes just like champagne. Falling every day, we're falling from outer space. Hoping time will change, got love on my brain. Would you say the same? We're falling from outer space. 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 Falling in quickly. Tell me you feel something too. Caught in the moment. I'm lost here without you. Tangled up in your web, holding on to every word you said. I'm ready, you know, I'm open to show. Would you say the same? We're falling from outer space. We're moving like a full-paced supernova. We're making all the headlines now, and I just wanna seize the moment, 'cause we won't ever slow it down. Kissing in the rain, tastes just like champagne. Falling every day, we're falling from outer space. Hoping time will change, got love on my brain. Would you say the same? We're falling from outer space. 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 We all still, if it's still in hearts, take them like they're ours, then we'll leave our scars. We all kill, if it's killing time, letting life pass by, we're guilty of that crime. Oh, that's just how the story goes. The minute we're young, then we get old. And if it's all over soon, then why should I care? Long as I got a hand to hold, one minute is.
Okay, are we back? Shall I start? Right, we're good, eh? Okay. Just now, we were talking about big data, a lot of data, right? So I just want to give you a snapshot of, what is the data science that we are talking about. This is just an estimation, yeah? We are talking about the prediction is by 2025, we are going to have like 175 zettabytes of data. So for some of us that already know how to read data science, it's easy. But for a lot of people that don't know how to read data science, I think this is very interesting. How do we read data? This is something that you can actually Google it out. You can always find in Google, which this is exactly what I did. So this is how the data is being named. The MB, GB, TB, PB, EB, CB, and whatever, right? So we are projecting in 2025, we're going to hit like 175 zettabyte of data at least. Yeah, at least. So just for your information. But the next question is, but what do you mean? How actually how big is this big? I really cannot imagine. Very difficult to imagine. So this is something that probably will help. If 1 gigabyte is the size of the Earth, then an exabyte is the size of the sun. So do you have an idea what is the size of the data that we are talking about into the future? Huge, right? Okay. So this is just for us to have some general understanding and some concept of what is the size of data that we are talking about today. All right. Okay. Cool. Um, this is from the a little bit from the business. In fact, the statistics has shown us very consistently that global leaders, global business leader are depending more and more on data to make that decision. That's why earlier, if you can remember what I said, is big data is really to allow us to find the relationship between the cybers or digitized data, all right, to produce an insight for critical business decision making. Yeah. So this is how critical is data for us and to us. For our friends in China, you definitely know this. We have Xiaomi and so Jingdong. Actually, this is a very classic case, a very recent case of what happened. Jingdong actually worked with Xiaomi and they sold 10,000 units of the mobile phone, C2M mobile phone, in just 11 minutes. Right? It was developed by Xiaomi based on customer insight generated from big data provided by Jingdong. This is the news clip. And this is exactly what I was saying just now. If I can understand what the customer wanted to buy from me, when they want to buy from me, how much they want to buy from me, what is the color, the shape, and the configuration, the spec that they wanted to buy from me, at the price point they want to buy from me, I will sell very well. And this is what happened. They sold 10,000 units of phone in 11 minutes. They sold 20,000, more than 20,000 of phone in one day. This is the very simple illustration of how big data works, in business, and it can work in any way that you want to imagine. Okay, all right. Some of the names that you see here is a very familiar name. All these companies, they are the biggest fan of big data, right? All these these are not all the company in the world. I'm sorry. These are some of the company in the world that are using big data to really drive, to really shape their company. And because of that, the people work within the company also be data driven. See, sometimes you might think, hey, but Stan, big data is industry thing. I am not industry people, I got nothing to do with industry. You might want to think twice. How Alibaba, how Grab, how Lazada, how Starbucks, how Amazon, how McDonald's, how Google influences today has 100% to do with the data that they have. Let me repeat. How Alibaba, how Amazon, how McDonald's, how Starbucks, how Grab, how Lazada, how Spotify or Netflix influence our life today has 100% to do with the data they have on us. If you think whatever you do got nothing to do with big data, you are so wrong. Right? This is the current future that we are looking now, 2021. We are not even talking about 2025 or 2030. And into the future, definitely, we are going to produce a lot more data, and all this data produced by you, right, will be part of your life, because that's how we are going to use the data that you produce to shape your life, or at least to produce a life that you want. So big data is not a technology topic. Big data is not a business topic alone. Big data is a life topic. Maybe this, the way I said it is a little bit heavy, because this is what I truly believe. But what I truly believe is, if there's a way that we can make our life better, we always want to do that. Yeah. So if big data is one of the way that we can use to make our life better, definitely the application of it will be increased. The company that you're going to join, all right, when you graduate, will be data driven. The work that you are going to do after you join is going to be data driven. Your career, moving forward is going to be data driven. You are going to face with numbers and data every single day. The difference is you're going to face more information, more data, and more number into the future. So this is something that I truly believe we really need to have at least basic and fundamental understanding. Not to say you must get involved in the industry, but you must have some basic understanding. So when you join any organization, any business, and any company at all, you have this insight that, hey, there must be something that we want to look at as far as data is concerned. Can I help my company to do better by gathering some of the data that I need to gather? Right? So this is very important. Okay? There are at least four main components that big data or data can really help us in our business or in our daily life. First is what we call operational efficiency. How to make my business more efficient, how to make my process more streamlined, how to cut down unnecessary steps. Instead of doing 3 steps, can I do 2 steps without jeopardizing the quality, without jeopardizing the value of my product? Can I do that? Because if I can do that, then I can save some costs, right? So with data, this is what you can do. I'm going to give you a very quick example here. We work with this organization called Intel, for the past 8 years now. Intel's always wanted to understand the so-called how do they increase the value and how can they upkeep the brand value of Intel. One of the things that they do, which is main thing that they do, is a chip, right? So they realize whenever in the production line, whenever the machine is going down, going down, the quality of the chip that they produce by that line of machine will have problem. So they wanted to know if I can predict when my so-called production line is going down, then it will be very good. So after working with them for the past 8 years now, the accuracy that we produce today is about 95%. Meaning, if the number tell us, if the insight tell us this production line, this machine, this part, this component will break down in 5 minutes. 5 minutes down to that detail. 95% of the time that will happen. So that saves a lot of time, a lot of cost, a lot of trouble, and save a lot of direct and indirect value and cost of Intel, because you don't have to down the line. You just down the machine, change the part before whole thing goes down, right? So that's at least area number 1 that big data can actually help us do in operation efficiency improvement. Second area that we can do is innovation and creativity. This is an area that humans are supposed to be the master of all, right? However, human, I don't like to say this, but we are not as hardworking as we want to be. We always think we want to be very hardworking, but we tend to be human, we tend to be a bit lazy or whatsoever. So what big data can do is that gather all the creativity, so-called sample or initial sample of creation or initial samples of innovation, and produce potentially, right, a model that can actually match the structured and unstructured data, so-called insight that can really meet the customer requirement. See, creativity in innovation means nothing if customer don't buy. Creativity in innovation means nothing if humans do not appreciate. So we want to create innovate something that human appreciate and wanted to use. And this is where big data will come in, right, to really help us to speed up the process. So the one of the critical contribution of big data in innovation and creativity is the speed. How fast they can produce and how fast they can go out and test and also get a response and redevelop again. Yeah. The third area that we can at least use, for big data is really know your customer. I always talk about future customer. The reason why I say that is because everybody that we are talking here today, we are talking about our future. Nobody want to talk about our past. Our past is past. We cannot create the past, but we can create future. Yeah. So this is where, we really want to do. Know our customer better so we can have a future. Yeah. And at least the last thing that we have is, with all this information, all this data, then we can actually really make information and inform business decision. Okay. Okay. All right. So the prediction here is 86% of the customer will pay for better customer experience. Only 1% of the customer will pay based on what they buy. Right? This is very true. So how can I know what is customer experience? This is where the unstructured data, the velocity of data will come into play in a big data. Yeah. So if you have a better experience in buying something, you go back, even though not so good, not so nice, not so sweet, not so tasty, but you still go because you like the experience. Ask yourself whether this is true. Yeah. And well, this is a prediction. Most of us would like to talk to machine because it's easier. It's very straightforward. All right. So if that happened, then the technology that driven by big data, such as artificial intelligence or robotic, will come into play, or artificial intelligence. Yeah. So the robot, in terms of decision or error making, is very little as compared to human. This is where big data also play a very critical role. Yeah. Artificial intelligence is about connecting everything, every single thing in the world, all right, if possible, and make it all an informed decision. Whatever decision that make, through this process will be a very much informed decision. That the benefit is the maximum, for the humankind, for the user. Yeah. Okay. So this is something actually, sometimes usually I spend a lot of time, but I don't today because I just want you to see. So if you really want to create a customer experience that customer will constantly come back to buy, these are all the touch points you need to have. But how do you measure well-being? How do you measure value? How do you measure product service? How do you measure client insight? All this can be measured when you have all this information digitized and analyzed in big data platform, because there are two: structured and unstructured data, right? Okay, cool. Some of the big data use cases, this one I won't go through too much, but you can see, it's customer analytic, we have sentiment analytic, we have campaign optimization, and all those. All these are really for efficiency, yeah, to make sure that this is a better thing that we do into the future. Okay, so you really want to think about whether this is a threat or opportunity for you. If you think this is something that, exciting, that I want to learn a little bit, it is an opportunity. To some people, this is a threat because we don't even know when human doctor will be replaced by robotic doctor. We don't know. So if you do not want that to happen, make sure you're involved. All right, okay. My end slide. Start to learn now. All right, because whatever that we have now is already a lot. So start to learn now and accumulate your knowledge along the line. You have to really think big and start small. All right. One day this is what I'm going to do. So if you want to do that, you really need to start small. Every single thing is the same. All right. Big data is the same. You really need to think big and you start small. Right? Stop one step at a time. And big data, as far as business is concerned, yeah, it's really about making profit and minimizing the cost. How can we make more money by minimizing the cost? Same goes with your career. Same goes with your life. Every single thing that we do here today potentially related to big data or data. Okay. So this is my last slide. If you have any question, this is the time. And my name is Stan. Thanks a lot for inviting me to share with this session. I'm not a lecturer. I'm sorry. I might not give you the lecturer quality that you want. These are some of the live and real life experience that we have today as far as the business is concerned. All right. So with that, I thank you. If you have any questions, yeah. There's one question, sir. Okay, let me answer this question. Good morning. May I know that this big data related to healthcare, is there any example? Oh, absolutely. I'll find you a YouTube, where a machine is doing an operation on a human being. Big data is absolutely 100% related to healthcare. Just look at COVID today. How do you know so much about COVID? What do you think? Other than the virus form, how it changes, there are a lot of things that actually we know through the information gathering. For example, cold weather, the virus probably can survive better. Hot weather, the virus can't survive too good. How come we know? Because with all the information that we gather, we do the analysis, we produce a pattern, we produce a model, we pass a model, and this is what the so-called accuracy of pattern will give us. So again, big data, like what I said, is a continuous learning journey, right? There are a lot of things that really need to pump into the big data platform for us to make it better. Yeah, thank you. I hope I answer your question. Second question: if big data is widely used in medicine, will there be a data security, especially health data and some patient? Oh yes. That's why PDPA, or Private Data Protection Act in Malaysia, is very critical in protecting the privacy of the data. This is a biggest security threat that you can imagine. But this is how I look at it. This is my personal opinion. If we want to constantly think about privacy or data protection, it's very difficult for us to advance one step further. So I guess how can we ensure a clearer line between privacy and progress is very important. We need to make sure we protect all the privacy and sensitive information. However, we also need sometimes certain private and also sensitive information for us to understand why. So I think the balance here is very delicate, very critical. There is no one answer to it. My answer to this is, I guess we need to make a decision on data privacy and data protection at the right point of time. If you are talking about life saving, yet you want to think about data privacy and data protection, I think that will be a little bit difficult. So I guess we need to be a little bit flexible, right, in handling this, and our end goal got to be very clear what exactly you are trying to achieve. If you are trying to save a life, yeah, we will then make sure we expose the maximum volume of information with the maximum level of protection. That's what we can do. We can't avoid. We have been exposed, from 1992. So it's rather difficult to avoid, but we can minimize it. Definitely, we can minimize it, but we cannot avoid it. It's impossible unless you totally disconnect, from the cyber world. Then you can avoid it. Yeah. I hope I answer your question. Okay. Is there any other question? I like the topic on big data on medical a lot, or healthcare a lot. Because I have some friends in medicine. They always do that. Okay, sorry. Then the next question: as a clinical medical student, what can we do to better use big data so to improve the health of population? Very good questions. Thanks a lot. First, I would like to invite you to understand a little bit what is big data first. You really need to understand the fundamental. You really need to understand the why of big data is being so-called even developed. Yeah. Then after that, you might want to go in a little bit deeper to understand how can this big data technology help in solving some of the medical issue, medical challenges that we as a human being very difficult to solve. For example, I am just giving an example, right? Ask yourself, do you trust a human to cut your brain, open up your head, check your brain, or do you trust machine, all right, to cut and open up your head to examine your brain? I guess this is a question that we really want to do the balance, right? Probably the most popular answer is both. Some area that we need a very careful, delicate, precise, so-called operation, we'll go with the machine, because machine do not come with the emotion. They will not shake, or the fear will not come in, when they do something. Yeah, but we still need human to come in to support machine. So I guess the combination of both will really help. We cannot depend 100% on human, because we know the history that when we depend on human, a lot of things happen. All right, we cannot 100% depend on machine, because we'll be ruled by the machine. So I guess the core assistant of human and machine will really help to improve the health industry into the future. Like it or not, it is already happening. Just that the ratio now maybe 70% human, 30% machine. But maybe into the future, we are talking about 50-50. 50% by human, 50% by human. Yeah. So I guess this is where it is. How fast can we produce a result of an analysis of a virus? You need a lot of helps from machine. You can do your own calculation. Yes, maybe 10 years. Yeah, but machine probably 2.5 seconds. So you really want to gauge that. Definitely, big data will be a big help to medicine. It will be a big help to a lot of industry. Just that whether are we applying it, are we using it wisely? Okay. Thank you for the questions. If there's any other question. So far, have I confused you, or you are clearer? I hope after the sharing. There are a lot of material available in the world, in the World Wide Web. Really. You can type even big data in medicine, tons of them. Right, tons of them. Take a look. All right, and try. Then start to see, is that applicable in my area? Is that applicable in my life? Is that applicable in the career that I wanted to move forward? If those are applicable, maybe those are the things that you want to start to learn. At least understand. I wouldn't say get involved immediately. Just now, I was sharing with Prof. Jenny also. There are 3 areas that you need to master if you want to get involved directly into the industry. Direct, yeah. First, you got to be a very good. You have to be the master of master in mathematics and statistics because it's about calculation. Second, you got to be so that good in computer programming. Today, big data. In our office, in our team, we have a team of people that can handle up to 15 types of computer programming languages because you need to upload all the data from structured unstructured. So we need to have computer programmers and writer that really understand the computer languages. Third, we need to have business analysts, those people that are very good in the industry because every industry are very very different. Yeah. So you need to make sure that whenever you produce a model, a pattern for a industry, you want to be validated by the industry expert. So these are the 3 direct field of mastery that you need to have in order for you to get directly involved in big data. So if anybody come to you and say, I'm a big data scientist, he or she is lying. Big data scientist is not one person, it's actually a group of people. How can you master 15 computer languages? How can you be the master of medicine in the world? And how can you be the mathematician and statistician of the world, in one time, one single person? And I know that is impossible. Okay. Any further question? No? Okay. If no further question, thank you again. Thanks for spending your time, investing your time, if not wasting your time. Saturday morning, I'm very happy to share, a little bit about big data with you. I hope this is something that we will learn together. I am also learning every day. So if you have any question at all, feel free to let me know. I can be contacted, through the detailed contact just now. Else you can, always talk to your university. They know how to reach me. Yeah. So if there's no other further question, thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Stanley, for the exciting sharing sessions. And also, I believe our students have learned a lot from you. So once again, thank you very much. And we also like to thank the student who joining this session. So now let's have a group photo. So student, please kindly turn on the camera for the group photo. Yep. If you cannot open the camera, you can press the reaction button at the bottom there and give me a thumbs up. All right. Okay, so student can give me a thumbs up. Okay, ready in 3, 2, 1. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, now I'm going to page 2. So ready once again in 3, 2, 1. Okay, going to page 3. Okay, so once again, ready in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much, student, and also once again, thank you, Mr. Stanley, for the exciting sharing sessions. So now, without further ado, let us go to the next session. Okay, so next